Hey everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. This is Bill. Hey, I'm starting to fabricate a plate for my firewall where I put my Terminator harness through the firewall. This is about the shape of the hole in the firewall where the steering shaft goes through. And so the steering shaft kind of somewhat fits, I don't know what to use to show you, but kind of somewhat fits like this through the firewall. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can make something that will kind of fill that hole, and also at the same time, I can put my harnesses through it too and just kind of seal up that big hole. It is about this big, the hole in itself. The steering shaft is about 2 inches. So what I did to get this started is I just took this is a plasma cutter stencil, and I have kind of a whole set of them. I cannot remember where I ordered them. I got them off the internet, and right offhand I can't remember the name of the company that makes them. But if you look up plasma cutter stencils, there's not too many people that make these. And what I bought was, I got a whole set. So there's a whole different set. I'll see if I can find it and maybe put a link in the video. But there's a whole different set of them with like all different sizes. Up to 2 3/4 inch hole here and 1 1/8 inch here. So you have all your different size holes. That one's backwards. All your different size holes. The smaller ones up top. Then of course this one goes in the mix, and the bigger holes on the bottom. So what you do is you just take your plasma cutter, you set this stencil on your metal, and you take your plasma torch and you just run it around here, and it cuts you a nice perfect circle. If you don't have an arc droid, or you don't have a CNC plasma table, this is one way of getting a real nice straight cut. So like I said, I'll see if I can't find a link and put a link to them, because I remember when I searched for them, there wasn't very many places. So this is where I'm starting right here. And I drew a line down the middle of it. And again, I use these templates, and if you look at these templates, they are marked. They have a line up top and a line on both sides of your circle. There's a line down here and a line on both sides of this circle. So what you can do is you can find the center of your circles real easy. I just laid this here, and I just marked up top and I marked down bottom, and then I marked each one of them on the sides. And so I don't know if my hole's gonna go right here, but this is about where my hole's gonna go. This says it's a 2 1/4 inch, and my steering shaft is a 2 inch. So I'm more than likely gonna center it right here, cut a 2 inch hole. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split this right up the middle after I figure out how big my harnesses are, and drill a hole here and drill a hole here for my harnesses. And then I'm going to split the whole thing right down the middle, and I think I'm going to take and sandwich it together, and maybe drill some holes over here on both sides for some riv nuts or something. I'm going to have to figure out how to do this. I've really been racking my brain trying to come up with a good idea how to do this. So this is where I'm starting right now. All right, I'm back. I cut the big excess. This was a sheet that I had partially cut some out of. I'm going to use my Beverly style throatless shear. I did make a video about this in the past, and this is a really cool tool to be able to cut with. So I'm going to use it. It leaves a really nice edge for the most part. It does roll a little bit, And I'm really gonna try to follow my line here so I don't screw up my pattern. I can always take more off the outside of it if anytime I want to, of course, So I'm gonna try to just really follow my edge on this thing, and not leave myself a ton that I have to take off later. So like I talked about when I made the video on this thing is really nice to use. Hopefully my hand and my arm are not right in the way. Don't have anybody to videotape for me, so I try to really think about. Half of my problem is trying to talk while I'm thinking about the video, and I'm thinking about is my arm in the way, or what am I doing. So just continuing around, and just gonna move all the way around this thing. So right there's the start of my pattern. So I'm just gonna go through and finish cutting off the other edge of this, and I'll be back. Alrighty, I'm back. I finished cutting this thing up. Ran over it with a sanding disc, and just to clean up the edges a little bit. Still a little bit sharp. That's okay, I can clean it up later. Still have a ways to go on this. So that's where I'm at. I'm gonna take some measurements, and I'm gonna kind of look at this closer. I'm gonna measure my harnesses, and I'm gonna cut my hole before I slice this thing in half. If I don't, it's just gonna make it crazy hard to cut holes in it. So I'm definitely gonna have to cut my holes first, and then I can cut it in half. Like I said, cut this on the shear. This is really thin. I don't even know what gauge it is. I've got gauges all over the place. What the heck? Let's see, just for the heck of it. I can never remember. This is, I just buy small little sheets. I just buy small little sheets here and there. So this is about 20 gauge. I believe it's 20 gauge. Yeah, so it's thin, and it doesn't need to be thick. It's not supporting anything. All it's doing is it's covering up a hole in the firewall, and it's gonna just have a couple of holes, and then I'll have to find a couple of grommets, or maybe cut a couple of grommets, or maybe some small vacuum tubing. Sometimes I found that I'll overcut a hole, I'll cut it a little bit big, and then what I'll do is I'll take a piece of vacuum hose like this, and I'll just run a razor knife all the way around and split it. And then what I do is I just take it and I squeeze the split over the hole, and it just kind of makes a grommet where it's got something soft that if it's vibrating, it's not gonna tear it up. It's not gonna tear up a wiring harness, that's through this hole. Or, if this hole is my steering column and my steering column's going through here, there isn't gonna be anything rubbing. Also, this can seal, this can act as a real good seal. If you can just stuff this in around, whatever you wanna seal up, this is a really good way to seal things. Just with a piece of regular, just cheap vacuum hose, from the auto parts store. So I'm gonna keep moving forward with this. I'm gonna take some measurements, and I'm gonna look at what I need to do to this and where I need to drill my holes. So I'll be back. Okay, here's where I am. I kind of did some measurements. I broke out the circle templates, which I use quite a bit to try to help me measure, to try to help me look at circles and look at how things are. These are not exactly equal. My only issue is I overcut these just a little bit bigger than my harnesses. And so I'm not really sure if they'll need to be bigger. That's my only issue. Kind of wondering if they're going to need to be bigger than this, but this is what I've got so far. And so I just trying to mark out my circles. I kind of brought it in there and set it in there a little bit to take a look at it. Again, with these circle templates, these are nice, these are cheap, they're from Amazon. They also, I don't know if you can see around the edges of the circle, they have the markings all around the circle. And what you can do is you can just mark those and then square off your circle, or square off your circle. Find the center of your circle. So that's just a little easier way. These don't have to be perfect. I'm trying to make them decent, but they do not have to be perfect. So all I'm trying to do is just, I have a line down the center. So all this is going to do is just kind of give me an idea of where to start drilling. So the next thing I'm going to have to do is get some hole saws, and I'm going to have to put some marks in the plate, and I'm going to have to get a hole saw and probably clamp this down to maybe a piece of 2x4 or something like that. Because it's so thin, the hole saw is going to want to rip it and take off with it. So I'm going to have to go real easy and use oil. So that's what I'm on to next. Okay, I'm back. I looked at my circles that I was going to have to drill, and I have a couple of these. I don't even know if this is a DeWalt. I believe this is a DeWalt bit. I bought, I don't know, oh, the other one's chucked up in my drill. I bought a kit with a couple of these step bits, and they're pretty good. DeWalt's. And one is just a little one, and one goes up to 1 1/8. So I was messing around, and instead of using hole saws, I was thinking about these knockouts. I have a knockout punch kit that I bought, again, Amazon. I'll see if I can find a link and put a link in there. But this is a knockout punch kit. Normally it's used for like in electrical work, where you have to knock out holes like in a panel or something like that for, you know, maybe conduit or fittings or things like that. Okay, we'll see how this works. My GoPro battery died. I haven't been really paying attention to it. I've just made a couple of short clips. Didn't think it would die that quick. But anyway, this is a knockout kit. It just has two pieces to it. It has one piece that's a cutter, it's a cutting piece, and then it has another piece that's like the reservoir where it cuts the metal into. So what you do with these things, let's see if I can do this right, because I'm doing it on camera, videoing it. So you just put the bolt and the bearing through the cutoff piece. You put your metal down there. You take this, screw it down. Sorry about that. First step, drill a 3/4 inch hole. So you do have to have a 3/4 inch hole for that bolt to go through. So you just set up your cutter like this, and then get an impact socket. They give you a wrench with the kit. There's a 19 millimeter ratchet wrench that they give you with this kit that you can use if you just want to ratchet it. I don't know what the deal is with maybe just not telling you to use an impact socket, but go, I got a hole, and it did distort my metal a little bit. I kind of figured it was going to do that because of how thin it was. The only way around this whole thing is just, you know, to use a piece of wood and, you know, just use hole saws. But I'm just going to take this and I'm going to just lay it on a flat surface, and I'm just gonna, you know, flatten it right back out. So not a big deal. I'm going to try and retighten this. Kind of looks like it didn't cut all the way through back here on an edge, but there it is, all the way through. So I'm left with a little bit of a rounded edge. It did screw up the metal just a little bit, but all I'm going to do is just take this thing, lay it down here, and just flatten it out. Like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect. And this is going to sit over my steering shaft. And then these two holes, I'm just going to kind of put this together, the two halves, with something in here, maybe a grommet or something like that. And this is just going to kind of cover up the hole where my harnesses are coming through the firewall. So let me show you. See if I can run over here and jump in. Going inside of my car, kind of talked about this. This is the area where my harnesses come through my firewall. And let me see if I can get the camera straight, and so that you can maybe see that shape a little bit more. But on these Tri-5s, this is what they have under here. And so there it is right there. There's the hole that I'm looking at, and the transmission harness comes right through, and then the other harness is right below it, and then the steering shaft is there. And so that's what I'm looking to plug. Boy, that's some nice video, isn't it? Right there. Did you get a good look at the ceiling? Nice look at my ceiling there for a second. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to shear this thing right down the middle. And then that's going to be where I'm at. And then at some other day, don't believe I'm going to do it today, but soon I'm going to go ahead and put these two halves together and figure out about where they'll go, and probably drill some holes out here, maybe a couple of holes for this thing to just kind of set together. I'll probably use silicone or seam sealer on it, and just to kind of seal it up. You know, it's just to seal that area up and seal that big hole where my harnesses run through the firewall. So that's all this is about. Okay, I'm back. That only took a couple seconds. So hopefully now you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on both sides of my harnesses in these holes that are coming through the firewall, and this will go around my steering shaft where it goes through the firewall. And then I'm just going to look at where I can probably put a couple of screws. I hate self-tapping sheet metal screws, but I might use those to get an idea of where my holes need to be. And I might put maybe some riv nuts or something in there, and some small bolts or some small screws, so that I can just always just unscrew this and just take this thing out rather than having to tear it up. Of course, self-tapping sheet metal screws would work. It's in a spot underneath the brake booster, which is really, really not a spot that's any big deal. You're not gonna see it. It's gonna be out of sight. So maybe I'll just use self-tapping sheet metal screws, just some small ones. So this is where I'm gonna end this for now. After I install this, I'll go ahead and maybe give you guys an update on it. Like I said, this is just an idea I've had to try to figure out how to fill in that big old hole. I can't just, I know everybody's thinking, why don't you just drill a hole in it and just slide the cables through the hole? Well, if you watch my the Terminator harness wiring video, there's big old square connectors that plug into the back of the Terminator. So they won't fit through these holes. They might fit through this one, but they will not fit through those. So that's, you know, my big dilemma. And, you know, I've been trying to think of, you know, should I somehow overlap it and make it pivot, or, you know, and then just scissor it closed. I've been over and over and over trying to figure out how to do this. And I just think this is probably going to be a good way to do it. And like I said, again, you're not going to see it. It's all the way down underneath the dash, right where the steering column goes through the firewall. And on the outside of the car, it's underneath the brake booster. So you can't see any of that area down there anyway. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, you know, looking for a little bit of aesthetics. This isn't a show car, like I said, not by a long shot. So that's what I'm doing today. I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope everybody has a great day. If you could, subscribe to my channel. It'll help me out. Cost you nothing. And like it if you like the video. Comment if you want to comment. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting rolling here. And just as I'm building this car, I should have started at the very beginning, but I didn't. So anyway, that's where I'm at today. Thanks. You guys all have a great day.